Let's get some price picks in today, guys. Another 4-2 on the NBA slip last night. Consecutive 4-2s, 4-2s, 4-2s. We're going for that 6 for 6, of course. But 4-2 is still good. I mean, if you guys grabbed a couple of these plays and threw them into your entries, you're better off than not when you're going 4-2 in a given day. So I'm pretty happy with that. But let's try to get these 6 for 6 for tonight. I have two 6-man slips. The other slip I gave was actually the MMA pick. If you guys had that free promo, I said this is what I was going with. And it did not go well, you see, especially when people get knocked out in the first minute. The slip's going to be chalked when you have the over 10 minutes on the fight time. And that, all in all, it went 3-3, but it's a refunded entry. It's a flex play. So overall, it was just a 7-5 day, but MMA is not too much of my specialty. So we'll get on to my actual two entries I have for the NBA, and I'm liking this slip in particular right here. I'm going with some first quarter props here on this Cleveland game. Of course, Donovan Mitchell is out. And to be honest, the spread, pace, things like that don't really matter because we're going for this first quarter only. Essentially, how I find these picks, I'm using my own dashboard here, OddsJuiceInc.com. And there's Garland's like a top pick on the dashboard right now. Minus 134, essentially the higher the minus, the more likely something is to hit. So 57% chance that he goes under his 2.5 assists. How do we notice? We compare this to other sports books. And if we go on Bet365, for example, that's not exactly where we get the line, but Bet365 is just an easy way to show you how this looks. And you can see here, Darius Garland at first quarter player assist is set at plus 120 on the over 2.5 and minus 150 on the under 2.5. Now, I know these numbers might not mean much to you, especially if you're not familiar with sportsbooks and how odds work, but if I go through this in like a calculator here, so 120 and minus 150. So 120 on the over, minus 150 on the under, essentially means about a 57% chance, or at least the sports books are projecting a 57% chance that Darius Garland goes under that 2.5 assists in the first quarter. And now, because I'm thinking Darius Garland under 2.5 assists, I know that's a good play on its own. Is there someone on that Cleveland team that I could pair him up with that's going to be even better in terms of correlation? Think of it. If Garland's going under 2.5 assists, what does that mean? Either he's probably scoring more or just the whole Cleveland team's not scoring at all. There could be a lot of factors that push Garland to going under 2.5 assists. And the main one could be like he's the one doing all the scoring, right? If he's not scoring, he's not assisting, which also means his teammates are not scoring. So that's why I'm going with Jarrett Allen on the under 6 points. It's not on the OddsJuice dashboard specifically, but when I'm taking these picks, I'm thinking, okay, who does that pair nicely with? And Jarrett Allen is a perfect one. If you go and check Jarrett Allen's points from assists, his field goals are actually 80% assisted, which means that if he's getting 6 points, it's very likely that at least 5 of those points are going to be assisted, meaning 2 potential assists. That doesn't mean that Garland is going to be assisting, but if you go and check the lineup, Donovan Mitchell is out, Garland's going to be that main assister. And if Allen is getting 4 points or even 6 points, there's a pretty good chance that Garland's assisting 1, 2, or maybe even all of Jarrett Allen's buckets, which means if Garland's going under his assists, it's more likely for Allen to also go under his points, at least in this first quarter, and throughout the whole game in general. Now for Allen, he's not on the OddsJuice dashboard because the under 6 is not exactly positive success value play, but because you're pairing these two guys together, it becomes positive EV, it becomes correlated, essentially two things depending on each other. And if we go check Jarrett Allen's odds actually on his points here, you can check all the other teams. You see, there's Garland at 6.5, Jarrett Allen at 5.5, but he has slight juice towards the over 5.5. We're getting him at 6 on Prizepicks. So honestly, I'm happy with taking this. If Allen was set at 5.5, I wouldn't even take the pairing. I would just go with Garland on his own as a nice positive view pick. But since we're getting the half point of protection on Allen, potential push line, I do like the under 6 there. Now you can see the other players here. We got Okoro and Niang here on the over 2.5. The main scores tonight are going to be Allen and Garland, right? If Garland's getting the points, you could expect both Garland's assists and Allen's points to go under tonight. That is why we have them in this nice pairing. All these other 4 picks have no correlation to each other, but they're just straight positive EE picks. Again, that basically means that these are projected to have about a 55% hit rate, and that is exactly what we see on the OddsJuice dashboard. So Holmes here, under 7.5 rebounds, is set at minus 126 fair odds, 55.75% chance that he goes on that 7.5. We're obviously going to throw that into our entry. And here was another one. We got Dante DiVincenzo on the under 26.5 PRA. Now, this is something I would pair up with like Brunson on the under 6.5 assists. But you can see Brunson is actually here at the over 6.5 assists juice. We don't want to be pairing that. That makes no sense because we have a 57% chance that he goes over that 6.5 assists. We definitely want to take the under. That would mean we have a 43% chance that he goes under. We don't want to pair this with DiVincenzo. It wouldn't make sense in this specific case. Maybe on another day it would. Now, this line got bumped, so I'm not even going to share it with you guys. But the Brunson over 6.5 assists was good. And that's kind of how this dashboard works. You're going to see a lot of picks that are very good, and then eventually they get bumped. That's when you know you locked in value because Prizepicks bumped it to 7.0 for a reason, right? It's too good at 6.5. They don't want people to be jamming Jalen Brunson's over 6.5 assists because it's too good and too profitable for us. That's why I'm going with DiVincenzo on the under 26.5 PRA without pairing him with Brunson. Now again, Davis is a perfect example here. I see him on the over 23.5 points. I'm thinking right away, can I pair this up with LeBron James on his assists? And that's exactly what I want to go check when I was building up this slip. Anthony Davis over 23.5 points. might as well throw in LeBron over assists. A lot of Davis's points are going to be assisted by LeBron, but I went to go check the board and I saw LeBron James was set at 8.0 assists. So 8.0, is that good? Is that not? Right away, you could just check on a sportsbook very quickly. LeBron James is set at 7.5 on the sportsbooks. Yes, with heavy juice towards the over 7.5, but at 8, I don't feel like it's a very good line. I don't feel it's positive EV enough for it to be a good enough line to throw in with Davis. So I just left Davis on the over 22.5 points alone. Now this last pick you see right here, Miles Turner over 22.5 PRA, and he is right down here at minus 122, 55% likeness to go over that 22.5 PRA. Why did I not take Tobias Harris over here? I'm pretty sure I already have him in a different entry, so that's why I just don't want to double up on the same pick. But you could go ahead and grab Tobias Harris under 6.5 rebounds if you're liking that one too. There's the first slip right down here, and the second slip is going to be this one right here. We got Jimmy Butler on the over 22.5 points, Ingram on the over 5.5 assists. Now right away when you're seeing assists, you're thinking, who could I actually pair up on the over potentially with Ingram assists? You got to be thinking Zion, and you got to be thinking CJ. Now, for Zion and CJ, I checked again both of their lines, and I'm not liking either of them. We have about 23.5 points on Prizepicks. On these sports books, he's actually set at 22.5 with slight juice towards the over. If we had him at 22.5, I would definitely pair him with Ingram here. We don't have him there, so that's why I'm not going with that. Now for CJ, it's a similar concept. He is 16.5 on these sports books. He's also 16.5 on Prizepicks. But you can see the juice is towards the under. The minus is higher for the under rather than the over. So I'm not really liking the fact that his juice is towards the under, which means his under is more likely. We just grabbed Ingram alone on that slip. And again, these picks are just from the OddsJuice dashboard. So Butler over 22.5 points. We see him right here, right? 55% likeness that he goes over. The over 22.5 points is definitely the play rather than the under on Butler. We also have Jared Allen over 3.5 rebounds on the first quarter too. So we'll have 2 first quarter props for Jared Allen, minus 125 juice or 55.5% likeness that he goes over that 3.5 rebounds. He's right there. And then Ingram is on the other page, I believe, right up here, minus 121. So you see, as you go on, these picks are getting worse and worse because there's only a certain amount of value in a given day. Like if you log on OddsJuice dashboard at 10:30 a.m., there's going to be a whole bunch of different value compared to at 1 p.m. because a lot of these guys are going to be getting bumped throughout the days with injury news, with all kinds of things that might affect the lines, and Prizepicks will be bumping these lines. So you kind of want to check this throughout the multiple times a day. In-game over 5.5 assists is a good play here, but not the best play of the day because there's so many other plays that have passed and have already gotten bumped. You also see Shooter here on the over 13.5 points. That's also good here, 54.5% like I said, and Chet Holmgren on the under 2.5 rebounds in the first quarter once again. So a couple first quarter props, I do like these ones. You do get to see if you win quickly or not, and if there's actually some hope in the 6 flex, but that is another one that's pretty much as good as the Dennis Schroeder one. Now the last one I went for was actually Rudy Gobert on the over 15.5 rebounds. He is set at 16.5 rebounds on the sportsbook. So whenever you see this on OddsJuice, what it basically means is the bracketed line over here means that the sportsbook have him set at this line. On Prizepicks, we have him set at this line. So we're getting a full rebound extra on the sportsbooks. The sportsbook are saying there's about a 43% chance that he goes over 16.5 rebounds. But if you're watching the channel for a while, you know I always say every point counts, every half point counts. So this is actually a massive difference. It's a bit less of a difference compared to like 7.5 points and 8.5 points. But 15.5 to 6.5 is still pretty substantial. It's hard to gauge exactly how good of a boost this is, but I would say it's at least a 10 to 12% boost on this over 15.5 rebounds compared to the over 16.5. What I'm basically saying is there's only about a 43% chance that he gets 17 or more rebounds, but there's about a 54-ish chance he gets 16 or more rebounds. So you see how there's a massive difference between that 16 and 17th rebound. We definitely want to be on Rudy Gobert's over 15.5. And honestly, Gobert has been crushing these rebounds lately, has been averaging 15.8 in the past 5 games, 17, 14, 16, 16, and 16. Let's hope that he gets that 16 tonight. This is going to be the 2 6-mans for tonight, guys. Good luck, everyone.